Right now, I think the biggest feeling is the feeling of relief that I won't have to continuously study for this exam again, because as I have already mentioned that this was my third attempt. So I have been preparing since 3 years. So I'm very glad that this journey has finally come to an end and with fruitful results. Why arose in the health setup itself when I finally entered college, and I entered my final year of my college, and there I started thinking that maybe civil services can give much broader opportunities to have a larger impact on much larger segments of society. So I think civil services provides a more holistic outlook to us and provides a broader platform. So I think that is when my medical field worked as a stepping stone to finally enter into civil services. Preliminary examination was my biggest roadblock because there are, I think, certain weak aspects for every aspirant, and for me it was prelims, and I could not clear the prelims in my first 2 attempts. While my first attempt was given as a trial attempt, it was not well prepared, but even in my second attempt I failed to clear prelims by a small margin. So for prelims, I think one thing that is very necessary is practicing MCQs and also applying what you have read into those question answer forms and seeing what suits you and what not, because for some people maybe a little guesswork is beneficial, but for others it is not. So we have to see what would be our strategy and what would be our strength in approaching that exam. Studying for at least 8 hours is very necessary, and those 8 hours need to be very focused and dedicatedly devoted to studying, not with distractions. So for myself, I actually used a timer. I have it here right now. So this was the timer that I used, and whenever I had 2 hours done on that timer, then I would take a break. So, and whenever I would get up to drink water or anything, I would stop that timer. So I think that made me very disciplined for mains. And the schedules remained just like any normal schedule. It was very ordinary. I would wake up in the morning by 8, and then I would divide my day into 2 2-hour slots. And I would also sleep in the afternoon. I would take a small afternoon break, and then in the night also I would continue and I would sleep on time. So I think this was the routine. Initially, when I entered this civil services arena, there I started with taking coaching classes because I had little or almost no guidance from any other place. But sir, after that, after completion of the coaching for the next 2 years, I think I relied completely on self-study, which is something that is actually non-negotiable, because you need to sit and study a lot if you have to clear this exam. My main learning was that initially I just started reading for this exam without understanding or without strategizing or planning anything. I was coming from a medical background where we read a lot, where we have a lot of books. So in a similar manner, I just nosedived into this preparation also. But the thing is that this is a very different exam, and you need to have proper planning for this exam. You need to chart out your priorities for this exam. It does not work like any other exam. So I think the biggest lesson from my failure was to understand this exam better and understand myself better as to where I can do well and what are my weak areas. Dedication of more time, so that is questionable, because I think COVID pandemic in itself was a time full of anxiety, and I think almost every other person has had some or the other relative being affected by COVID. And in my case, both my parents were affected with COVID, and my father was admitted in the ICU ward for a long time. So I think, sir, that I think the entire month of May was a very crucial month for the entire country at large. But however, sir, I think that in itself, such challenges give us the strength to overcome other challenges and become better versions of ourselves. So I think this is how it has helped. is actually a great question, because I think mental health during exam preparation is something that is very neglected. It is a neglected topic which we usually don't talk about before starting the preparation. But I think that aspect is very necessary, and one must always remember that why you started this preparation in the first place. That would help us be persistent even in case of our lows. And I think self-belief is very much required, because everyone faces days which are not that good, days where you are not performing better, days where you're getting very low marks. So I think self-belief in those days helps a lot. So I think a combination of persistence and self-belief should be there. Before interview, there are jitters definitely for everyone. But when I entered the room, I saw all the fellow aspirants, and everyone was so composed, and it was a very mature atmosphere. And I was called, I got the last number for the interview. I was last in my row for being interviewed. So I got a lot of time, around 2-3 hours, to sit and wait. So I think that helped me in a way where I relaxed a bit, and I got through well. Firstly, I'd say start by saying that my interview was actually very detailed. And as I said, I was the last to go, so I was a little apprehensive that they might not ask me a very detailed interview, and since it is lunchtime already. But the board was very cordial, and it was a very positive atmosphere, and they actually focused on a lot of analytical questions. Facts were focused on less, and more questions were asked. For example, related to the army, they asked me, like, you already know the positive sides of the army, now tell me the challenges about the army. And they even asked me about my optional subject, that is anthropology, questions related to linguistic diversity of India, questions related to the meaning of my name, and even questions were asked on the attire that I was wearing. I was wearing a sari, so they asked me that, do you know what sari are you wearing, what border is it? So I think they were trying to judge the entire personality, and I think the general awareness of the candidate, how much alert and aware the candidate is at that point of time. Yes, and in fact, my brother is also in the army. So army was always high on the agenda. But however, once I decided for civil services, I thought that I should not devote my energies to anywhere else. Okay. And I actually respect the army a lot and the uniform a lot. But I think civil services and army both are like they both have the similar end of serving the society. So both balance each other out. So I think that is good in a way. As more and more young officers are emerging and joining, and so these days we see that people who are preparing for this exam, they have very clear goals, and seeing such people and such aspirants all around, that so gives me a lot of hope that change is on its way. And along with it, we're also having much larger innovations when it comes to technology. We are moving towards e-governance. And I think we are moving towards a more integrated society, because as the education levels are also increasing in the society, the interface between public and bureaucracy, the gap that was there, is slowly getting bridged. So I think we are having gradual improvements, and the bureaucracy is working hard towards it. So I am optimistic about the future. I think a lot of aspirants enter this arena like I had entered, without any guidance and without any knowledge of this exam. Just knowing that this exam is an exam for IAS, that is all the knowledge. So in that case, it is very easy to get overwhelmed by the amount of material in the market, by the amount of material on the internet these days. So I'd say that stick to your basics. Keep revising, be consistent, and have certain self-confidence in your preparation, that if you are working hard, you will get your results for sure. I think this is the major message that I'd like to send.
If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.